Good morning, gentlemen. General Saltzman, President's FY25 budget contains a new program for space access, mobility, and logistics. It's only $20 million. What's your plan for this?
Sir, that type of money is used to study, to figure out if there's military utility. And so, for example, if we are looking at a concept called dynamic maneuvering, if we can have unlimited fuel in our spacecraft because we have the ability to service them on orbit, then we can have more dynamic orbits which are harder to target. That's the concept, that's the idea, but we really need to evaluate that to figure out if there's serious military utility there before we invest heavily in a program. And the $20 million gets us along that line.
Yeah, $20 million for 5 years, that's not a lot of money. I mean, is that going to get the job done?
I believe we'll have the answers to our basic questions on military utility with that, and then we can make a determination as whether we need more funding.
Yeah. How's your recruiting and retention?
We're doing great. We still get thousands of applicants for hundreds of positions, and we're above 90% in terms of the people that we want to retain. So I'm not, convinced that that's going to last forever, and so we're working hard to make sure we provide our guardians with high levels of challenges and opportunities to enhance their own competencies to make sure we can retain that workforce.
Thank you. Secretary Kendall, recently, I guess you decided to cut in half the MH-139’s, and we've got one or two, I think we've got 8 total eventually coming to Montgomery and Maxville. What's your plan on this?
Yeah, I think Maxwell has one already and another later this year, and then the full 8 about a year after that. We did cut the buyback. We cut it from about 80 to about 40, and the reason for that was that the threat changed and the areas in which we expect to operate have changed. So it's a fairly expensive special purpose helicopter that doesn't have that much utility in some of the theaters where we'd have to operate, given the threats that are there. And there are a number of other assets, and in many cases can be used for personnel recovery. So we basically downsized it to have what we think is a reasonable force to meet our needs, given the changes in the threat. That's been the fundamental driver.
Yeah. I was at Tyndall Air Force Base recently. How's that coming? That was a disaster, what happened to Tyndall, but we're rebuilding it back. Is it coming along pretty good?
I'd have to get you a detailed answer for the record, but yes, is basically answer your question. A lot has been put into the Tyndall to restore it.
Yeah, thank you. General Alvin, F-35s, we're putting a lot of eggs in the basket on this. Are we getting enough flying time, knowing the cost of F-35s, of operating and maintaining?
Well, Senator, we're certainly trying to manage that to get as many as we can. We, as the weapons system sustainment accounts and the flying hour program accounts are very much interrelated. And so as we try and drive down the cost of what it costs to sustain that, we can put more of that into flying hours. No pilot thinks he or she ever has enough flying hours. Well, we certainly are augmented that with our synthetic training. Our joint synthetic environment is also helping us understand the things that we don't necessarily want to do in open air because of security. I would say, though, that every pilot wants to fly more, but we're trying to manage that well to keep that proficiency up, to keep up with the pacing threat.
We want to make sure our pilots are safe, obviously. In the confrontations we've been having lately, has F-35 been used that you know of?
The F-35 has been a part of it. Some of the recent ones, like over the weekend, it was not. It was not required for that capability. It actually wasn't in the theater. But the assets that we had in the theater, they come through requests from the combatant commander, and we provide the assets for which they request, and those were satisfactory in that permissive environment. In the highly contested environment, that is really where this 5th generation capability that the F-35 provides today, but even more so into tomorrow with the Tech Refresh 3 and Block 4 upgrade capabilities.
General, how's our recruiting in the Air Force?
Recruiting the Air Force is doing quite well. It's really improving. On the active duty side, we actually just recently increased our goal, and we think we're going to make that increased goal. On the reserve side, they're going to be within 1%. They think they may actually make it as well. The National Guard had a deeper deficit to recover from. I think last year they were well below. They're going to be within 5%. So we're gaining on all fronts. We're certainly not resting on our laurels. In the 25 budget, we asked for another $50 million to be able to distribute out to more recruiting centers, to have more digitization of records and things, so we can also have the recruiters do more recruiting rather than just admin work. So we're not giving up that we've got it all licked right now, but we certainly are on the right path.
We're increasing numbers?
Absolutely.
Is that what you said?
Yes.
What percentage, do you know?
Well, I would say right now we are, if you do
goal.
math and public, well, what percent of the goal? The active duty Air Force is right now reaching 100% of its goal, 101%, quite frankly, which allows us to bank a few. The reserves 99%, and the Air National Guard about 95%.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Tuberville. Senator